So my dear students, we have just started principles of language across curriculum. And we just explained, or we just saw two principles among 5 principles of language across curriculum. So again, I may look back to the points which we have discussed here. I'm sorry, I may share the PowerPoint presentation here. So I think you are able to see the PowerPoint, yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we were talking about the principles of LAC, or we were talking about the principles of language across curriculum. As I told, whenever you introduce a new strategy, there should be some logic behind that. Even if your existing strategies are something faulty, even if the existing language teaching strategies are not working properly, you can select a new strategy only on the basis of some logic or some principles. So language across curriculum can be justified by telling these principles or on the basis of these principles. Content-based instruction, that is CBI, content integrated language learnings, that is CILL, principle of skill acquisition, principle of immersion, and principle of functional learning. Then we just discussed principle of content-based instruction, CBI, or content integrated language learning. Actually, these two principles are almost similar. CBI is introduced in America and CILL is introduced in Europe. According to these principles, natural language acquisition occurs in context. That means you cannot acquire a language out of the context. When you teach a language in an exclusive language classroom, actually you are not getting an opportunity for speaking that language or utilizing that language or making use of that language in a life-oriented context. So teaching a language in an exclusive classroom by teaching the rules and regulations of that language becomes a failure. But language across curriculum offers an opportunity for learning or acquiring a language in context, because you can learn the language in other subject classrooms too. That means you can learn the language in its real context. And this is the first principle, or the first two principles are conveying the same thing, CBI and CILL. So on the basis of CBI and CILL, language across curriculum will be more effective than the existing exclusive language teaching classrooms. Then the second one, this one also we have already discussed, principle of skill acquisition. Language is a skill, just like swimming or riding a bicycle and something like that. And a skill can be acquired only by practicing. Only by practicing means there should be continuous practicing. And when you learn a language in an exclusive language classroom, actually you are not getting an opportunity to practice the skills of language for more than 1 hour. Actually, you are learning a language in a particular language classroom and you are not getting an opportunity for practicing the correct language, the effective language in other subject classrooms, because even if the particular language is spoken by other teachers in other subject classrooms, they will be using some faulty language, then you will be compelled or forced to follow some faulty language spoken by some other subject teachers. But language across curriculum offers more hours for practicing the particular language, because language across curriculum is the concept of teaching a particular language throughout the school hours in language classroom as well as other subject classrooms. If you want to learn swimming, you cannot learn swimming by reading books. If you want to acquire the skill of riding a bicycle or bike, you cannot acquire the skill by reading a book on riding a bicycle or bike. Similarly, if you want to acquire a language, or if you want to make use of a language, or if you want to learn a language, you cannot learn it, or you cannot acquire it, or you cannot use it by reading books on effective usage of language. So these principles we have already discussed, we have already explained these principles. Then the third principle is principle of immersion. Just as the PowerPoint slide tells, this principle tells that all the subjects should be taught not only for teaching the content but also for mastering the target language. This is something important. I may ask you a question. I may ask you a question whether all of you are reading newspapers. Yes? Yes, students? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, for what you are reading newspapers? For what? Yes?
For just knowing the information.
Yeah, just for knowing the latest information, just for knowing the latest trends in politics, just for knowing the latest incidents in our country or at international level. That means just, yeah.
It also helps us learn language, especially if English language. If you are
yes, that's my question. That's my question, David. How many of you utilize this news reading or reading newspaper for improving your language? Maybe mother tongue, your language, Malayalam, or maybe newspapers in English language. How many of you look at the style of presentation of some articles? How many of you look at the words, new words? How many of you try to learn new words when reading newspapers? How many of you look at the grammatical structure of different sentences when reading newspaper? Yes, this is my question. How many of you?
I do.
Yes, then it do. Then it does. Yes, then.
Only English newspaper.
Yes. Okay. Okay. When you read English newspapers, you try to collect new words. Then you look at some usages. When you see some special usages or some novel usages, some new usages, some unfamiliar usages, you just try to catch that usage and you just try to understand the meaning here. Okay, so right, then any other one? So that means in most of us, in most of the cases, we read newspapers just for going through the content. Though we are reading English newspapers, we will just go through the content and we will try to get the information or news or the contemporary issues. But if we read newspapers not only for getting the content but also for mastering the language, it will be more useful for you. For example, once I happen to see a sentence, it is high time. It is high time is used for telling that we are a little bit late to do something. And if we think by using our mother tongue, then we will use present tense, simple present tense with high time. We will tell it is high time to tell. It will be our usage. But the actual usage is simple past tense. If you want to tell we are a little bit late to do something, or if we are a little bit late to tell the truth to our friend, then we will tell it is high time we told the truth. It is high time we told the truth. Not the simple present tense, but simple past tense. And this sentence or this style of presentation, this grammatical item I got when I was reading something in a newspaper. Actually, I am not a very good reader, but still sometimes I will be looking at some words and sentences when I am reading some books in English language or some newspapers, just to know about the style of usages, style of presentation. And see, most of us are not able to write essays or articles in a language just because we do not know how to write an article, how to write an essay. Even in examinations, actually, we are writing some essays by just by hearting the items included in the textbook. But if we read newspapers, not only for getting the content, but also for knowing about different styles of presentation when writing an article, and for getting some grammatical items, getting some structures, getting some proverbs in the language, that it will be helping us to improve our language. And here, by this principle, we can tell that language across curriculum can be justified, because when you teach mathematics, it should be not only for teaching mathematics but also for teaching a language. When you teach chemistry, it should not only for teaching some principles in chemistry or some theories in chemistry, but also for teaching the language. So this is immersion, principle of immersion. So if we take this principle into consideration, we will see that the existing language teaching strategy, that is an exclusive English language classroom teaching, will not be helping the students to learn a particular language. But if we are accepting a LAC approach, that is language across curriculum approach for teaching the language, then we can see that there is an opportunity for learning some subjects, and together with that, students can learn the language. Got it? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So let me
Yes, sir.
just move to the next principle, and this is principle of functional learning. And here you can see This principle tells that language can be learned well through its functional aspects rather than the theoretical rules. Then I may ask you a question. Whether grammar is important in learning a language. Whether grammar is important in communicating in a particular language. Yes. And this question can be answered by Arif. Arif, are you there? Arif. I think Arif is not there because he has got some problems with his cell phone. Yesterday he just sent a message to me. Then I may call another one. Shahana is there. Yes, Shahana.
Yes, sir.
So my question is whether grammar is important for learning a language or whether grammar is important for communicating in a particular language.
I think no, sir, because nowadays all people are speaking short forms for many.
Yes, nowadays people are
Complete sentences are not used by people.
Yeah, you're right, Shahana. Complete sentences are not used by people. Nowadays, people are using short sentences. Then, if I tell, I'll come instead of I came. Yes. If I tell I'll come instead of I came, just to tell that I was there yesterday, then what will be the result? Yes.
It is not, sir.
If I have to tell I was there yesterday, I have to tell I was there. I cannot tell I will be there. If I want to tell I came there, I should tell I came. I cannot tell I will come. And this is grammar. And see, this is a mistaken notion. Actually, most of the people sometimes tell that there is no need for using grammar or there is no importance for grammar in communicating in a language. But it's a mistaken notion. Actually, the matter is that there is no need for learning the rules and regulations of the grammatical aspects, but we should use accurate grammar. That is important. I will tell you the difference, okay? I will tell you the difference. There is a difference.
Okay.
Yes, there is a difference. Actually, you are right, Shahana. I was not blaming you, but this is a notion which is kept by most of the people nowadays. Okay. So itself I asked that question. So I have to remove that mistaken notion from your mind. And here comes the difference between.
Are you saying that grammar and rules and its rules and regulations are different?
Yeah.
Both are different?
Yes, different. I will tell you. Yes. Yes, Amit. There is a difference between language learning and learning about language. There is a difference between learning a language and learning about language. Yes. And here, for example, my dear students, you should use came or the second form of the verb when you tell or when you want to convey something happened in the past. So if you are able to use the second form of the verb, that means that you are able to use accurate grammar. But there is no need for knowing that this second form of the verb is simple past or something like that. And this knowledge about some grammatical items that they belong to simple past, they belong to present perfect, they belong to present perfect continuous tense, they belong to past perfect. And this knowledge is learning about language. And this is what is happening there in our classrooms. We teach our students some rules and regulations. We will tell that the pattern of simple past is subject plus second form of the verb. We will tell that past form of the word come is came. We will tell that was is an auxiliary verb of past, used in past, and this is rule. But there is no need for using such words in a context to know about this is past, this is simple past, this is past continuous, this is past perfect, this is simple present, this is present continuous, this is something like that. We never teach the functional meanings of different grammatical items, but we teach the rules and regulations. And people or students who learn that was is an auxiliary verb of past will tell I was went. Actually, there is no need for using this was they. But in our unconscious mind or subconscious mind, we keep that was is an auxiliary verb of or verb in past tense. Actually, we should teach them that was is used in a complementary sentence to tell that, to convey the past existence of a person. For example, ഞാൻ അവിടെ ഒന്ന് മലയാളം പറയാം. അപ്പം മലയാളത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ പറയും വാസ് പാസ്റ്റ് ടെൻസ് ആണ് എന്ന്. നേരെ മറിച്ച് ഒരു കോംപ്ലിമെന്ററി സെന്റൻസിൽ, ഒരു നൗൺ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സെന്റൻസിൽ വാസ് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത് ഒരാളുടെ ഭൂതകാലത്തെ അവസ്ഥയെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാനാണ് എന്ന ഫംഗ്ഷൻ. അഥവാ ഐ ആം എ ഡോക്ടർ, ഞാനൊരു ഡോക്ടറാണ്, അവിടെ ആം എന്നത് ഞാൻ ഇപ്പോൾ ആണ് എന്നതിനാണ് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത് എന്നും ഐ വാസ് എ സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്, ഞാനൊരു സ്റ്റുഡൻ്റ് ആയിരുന്നു, ഇപ്പോഴല്ല. വാസി എന്നുള്ളത് ആയിരുന്നു എന്ന ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷനിലാണ്. ദ പാസ്റ്റ്, ടു ടെൽ ദ പാസ്റ്റ് എക്സിസ്റ്റൻസ് ഓഫ് എ പേഴ്സൺ, വാസ് ഈസ് യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ എ കോംപ്ലിമെന്ററി സെന്റൻസ് just for conveying the past existence of a person. This is the function. But we never teach this one. We will teach was is an auxiliary verb of past. What should be used just like this in a structure. We are teaching the structure, we never teach the function. This one you can see in the case of has and have. This one you can just see in the case of can and could. We can see in the case of shall and should. We teach our students that should is the past form of shall. What is the meaning of should? If you use should, that if you tell I should go, that means I have to go. There is a compulsion. Yes, a should is not the past tense of shall. Should has got something else, and we never teach this function. We use should just for telling that if I tell I should go, that means I have to go. So I am forced to go, and this function is not taught. Got it? Yes? Yes?
Yes, sir, we got it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
sir.
So, according to principle of functional learning, language can be learned well through its functional aspects rather than the theoretical rules. So, in our exclusive language classroom, we always teach rules and regulations, structures. Actually, we should learn the structures and we should learn different patterns. At the same time, we should learn the functional aspects of language. And these functional aspects can be learned in other subject classrooms if other subject teachers also use correct language. So, if you make use of language across curriculum, these principles too can be realized in your language teaching learning process.